Hey everyone, red decimating person here. Well, actually I kill all of them, I don't decimate them. I'll start again. Hey everyone, kill 10 reds RPG kind of person here with a quick PSA to let you know a few things about what's coming up. First off, there have been about 100 new subscribers over the holiday period. Welcome, thanks for watching, subscribing, clicking the like thing. That really helps getting the videos connected to similar content on other channels. I'm already seeing the impact now of Trevor making a series that's bringing a lot of you guys over here. I hope you enjoy it, even though I am not a voice actor. Secondly, slight change of plans in case you've been watching my review post-mortem video of the first season. I was mentioning a series I was working on called Homestead, which was a mishmash of Ironsworn and an upcoming game by Penny Lantern called Stonetop, which is a village, sort of Iron Age village simulating game. Very, very cool. I have the preview and I want to wait until Stonetop is in my hands physically because it is what it deserves. And I want to play with the book in hand. It's just more exciting. It's kind of my thing. I don't really like printouts or PDFs, things like that. I want the full leaf through the book experience. So Homestead will happen later. It will happen, but it'll happen once Stonetop actually hits my inbox physically. Second change, I have changed my recording process. Why am I telling you this? Because it'll change the way the videos looks a little bit in terms of how they start. So if in the near future videos will more like lead into the episode, like in today's episode with a quick cut of scenes from the previous episode, that's because I now record episodes in a batch of 2 or 3 so I can more easily edit them in bulk, and that really cuts down on my production time, which brings me to the next change, which is a new series that this allows me to create. I am still waiting on a component for this, but I already have a lot of books of random tables, books of random quests, Mythic GM, and most importantly, Scarlet Heroes. This is going to be the system that I want to do something with, and I want to do it in a homebrew setting. But to brew that setting, I am waiting for a book that's currently in the mail on its way to my house, and that's Worlds Without Number. So we'll use the world generation tools in Worlds Without Number to create our setting for our Scarlet Heroes campaign, which we will use the solo engine of and the rule set of. We'll add a sprinkle of Mythic GM and a lot of randomness. So it'll be very different from Ironsworn. It'll be a bit more OSR, a little bit more random and colorful. So I'm very curious how this is gonna go. And now that I've wasted enough of your time, thank you very much for tuning in. Here's today's episode. All the doors of the houses that aren't barred up flying open, and people looking at the sky and coming together and talking to each other and agitatedly looking at the sky, and then with the screeching getting louder and louder and the airflow extremely agitated to the point where people's hair is starting to flutter in the wind. The first birds in batches of 5 and 6 up to a dozen now start dive bombing down at the people, and the whole cloud of flying creatures descends. This is a bit of a predicament because he now knows that there is this attack going on, and that the only thing at the moment to really save you from it is to have a roof over your head. And he also knows that Saskia and Baz and his refugee caravan are outside there, and the only thing that really separates them from this attacking swarm is a thin layer of canvas on some of the wagons that they have. So he starts looking around for a shield, and perhaps it's not a shield, perhaps it's just a square table that Kynan picks up and lifts over his head, and he rushes out into the chaos. Hey, how are ya? I'm Anderson, and this is Kill 10 Rats Plays Ironsworn Chapter 2, Episode 7. Let's jump right back in where we left off last time. Kynan sets foot out of Morgan's house as the town of Redcrest is under attack by a unnaturally swelled flock of a mixture of a just large variety of birds that have all congregated into a seething mass that is screeching and flying around in circles and bombarding anyone who is now on the outside, having come out of their houses to figure out what the commotion is. And the birds are more and more acting in an obviously unnatural fashion, like as Kynan cowering under the table that he uses as a shield against the oncoming attacks, and hearing that of little bodies crashing into the tabletop and occasionally having to fend some off that come right at him. He also sees some villagers already being dragged into houses with wounds and blood gushing from various injuries, and the birds are just crashing into the door frame and the walls of houses, trying to get at them, trying to get at the rescuers, and even sort of trying to follow them into the house or thudding into the angled roofs of the houses and just getting stuck there or breaking their necks there. But there also seems to be an almost endless supply of them. So it's it's a question of how does Kynan now want to try and ensure the safety of his other traveling companion who he's left behind in Bas's refugee camp. So let's do a face danger here to represent trying to get to the village, to the town gate that is still closed. Using iron, that's a strong hit. We take 1 momentum. And naturally, I think in this chaos, we also immediately lose sight of Morgan. So especially with this cloud of assaulting birds just constantly descending and lifting back up again for the next attack, it's all very disorienting, and Kynan loses his way or his footing periodically. So keeping an eye on or keeping somebody else in focus is almost impossible. He's just trudging forward and deflecting onrushing little bodies with his armored wrist guards and trying to keep that tabletop low and feeling his back getting peppered with... Well, he's gonna be pretty bruised after this, but he's so far, I think, relatively unharmed. He's just taken some, mental... it's taken a mental toll. What I wonder is that Kynan, being an experienced combatant and having been in battles previously, I wonder whether he is going to want to blindly open the gate not knowing what's on the other side, because he already sees that something's attacking, the flying attack is already happening, and there's not really anything to tell him, or me for that matter, whether there is more to this assault. It might as well be that they open the gate now and there is some other creatures on the other side, or even the firstborn themselves on the other side trying to come in, and they're just ensuring that the town is already falling. So I think as an extension of that, Kynan is looking to first get eyes on what's the situation in the refugee camp. We remember there is a guard tower, a roofed one next to the entrance gate that also overlooks the refugee camp, so he's going to try and get up there to see, maybe they're not even under attack, maybe the attack isn't actually outside, it's just affecting Redcrest, because, you know, we don't know, maybe it's a coordinated attack that's precise enough not to even hit the refugee camp. So Kynan bulldozes his way forward to the ladder, and I think to get up the ladder we should do another face danger, because we're gonna have to shed that table and climb up very, very quickly. Let's do edge, see if we can sort of elude to some extent the attacking flock of insane wildlife. Using edge, that is a weak hit, which in this case probably we should endure harm as we get scratched and hit and beaten up. That's a weak hit, which means we press on. Okay, so Kynan, now bleeding from various cuts, collapses on the wooden platform that is also fenced in, so he's got the roof, he's got that slit through which the guard can usually look and watch for incoming attackers, and he's fairly protected now from the chaos flying around there. Is there a guard up here? Let's also say 50-50. We were saying that the guard towers are mostly manned during the night, but not all of them. Okay, so that's under 51. I take that as a no, which means then there is no other guard here. And we should now probably also determine what Kynan sees. So is the refugee camp also under attack? I would consider that likely, so 26 plus. 35, yes, the bird assault is also happening in the refugee camp. One thing I was thinking about is in terms of this whole attack being born out of a support survival theme with a relation to Asha's execution. I think the bird attack alone is not going to cut it, so I would also expect Kynan to see now, looking outside, some additional incomings that are there to ensure that the attack succeeds. So as Kynan pulls himself up and peers first at the refugee wagons in their wagon circle outside and sees some feet poking out from under a wagon, and it's like an injured person being dragged under a wagon just at the last moment, and it seems they've sort of tried to find shelter that way, but they are bloodied and definitely not safe. But as he lifts his gaze towards the river and the other side, the edge of the deep wilds, the woods, he can already see halfway through the river a line of swimming bodies that is just continuing into the forest edge as a wide column of different forest creatures comes forth. Anything ranging from a swimming bull moose halfway through, almost made it to the shore of the other side, individual wolves, a bear off to a side somewhere, and a whole lot of deer and even smaller creatures like badgers, and just anything that moves and crawls through the forest is coming towards Redcrest in a enormous panorama of nature striking back. And that of course is a much more immediate threat to the refugee caravan, because that will just overrun anyone still there and lying under a wagon. They'll be very likely dragged out and savaged. And considering also the extension of this as a disease, Kynan also notices the odd humanoid in there, villager. We remember the lumber camps, we remember that partly they were under attack, they came back, and I would imagine some of the more remote ones, they were still out there, and some of them didn't make it back, so now they are coming forward as part of the spear tip of this targeted assault. And I think that's all the impetus Kynan needs to spin around, rush for the ladder, just move a few rungs down and jump the rest, and like flying birds be damned, he's just trying to make it to the cross beams that close the gate from the inside, trying to throw it open before the incoming wildlife reaches the shore, and trying to get the refugees to come in. So let's do another face danger. I think in this sense we do it with heart, because we're just, physical skills be damned. This is now more of a matter of will. We are gonna get hurt here. It's just that it shouldn't really matter. He's not even gonna properly feel it. So let's roll with heart. That is another weak hit, so we can endure harm. That is a strong hit on the endure harm. I think I will use a momentum to negate that. And now the question, of course, is it possible to open the gate unobstructed, or is there still somebody guarding it, or within reach to prevent us from doing that up on a guard tower or something? Do we find it likely that there is a guard there that will intervene, given all that's happened? There's maybe somebody up in the guard tower who will see him try to do that. Let's give it a 50-50. 51 plus, there is a guard in the tower who will see him try to do that. 59, okay, so there is a guard who sees Kynan rush forward towards the cross beam that is hooked to make sure that the double doors, the double gate doesn't open. And he sees him trying to, it's probably a two-man job really, to get it out of the first hook, just to force it open somehow. Now what does this guy do? Is he, because there is a ton of noise, the town is under attack. I don't think they can talk to each other. I think compelling at that distance in that situation doesn't make sense. The guard just sees some guy he's never seen before run for the gate that is... He also sees the onrushing, like both humanoids and the majority of the animal bodies coming towards them. So I think you just follow his guard instincts, and after a long alarm, he will open fire at Kynan. He probably raises his bow and just shoots down before Kynan has a chance to completely open the bar. So let's face danger again with heart. I don't think it's... I think as much as it's like as agile as Kynan is, I don't think there is much of a way of really putting that into play. He's just gonna have to like hope for the best and soldier on with bravery. I think we now have all the pieces in play for an interesting scene challenge. So we have the guard firing at Kynan, we have the door still closed, we have Kynan in need of getting the gates open, getting the refugees in and to safety, closing the gate again. And all of that with the onrushing pressure of the creatures there. So let us do that and see where it leads. Calling is rescue the refugees and calling it dangerous. We had a weak hit on the face danger roll, so we're gonna do another endure harm as the arrow glances a blow on Kynan. That's a weak hit, so we press on, and we do that by facing danger again with heart, because there's not really a good way to apply ourselves in any other fashion, and see if we can get that last bit of the crossbeam to get out the way so we can push the gates open. That is a strong hit for a change, so we actually do make progress. That bar crashes to the ground as Kynan ducks away and another arrow thuds into the gate in front of him, and he shoulders against it and pushes and tries to get it open. Let's do another face danger. That looks like it's wanting to be a double 3. Let's just be... Okay, no, it turned into a 7. That is a strong hit though, because we rolled a 6. So Kynan pushes the one wing of the gate just far enough to... well, I was about to say far enough to slip out, but then the guy could come down and close it again, so he's probably going to lean against it and push it all the way so it flips around, and just hopefully the returning Kynan and Baz and Saskia to pull it closed, and is a bit too much of a job for this one guy. That also puts him a little bit out of the field of fire, so the guard is sending him another arrow that embeds itself in the ground behind his heel. And now what is happening with Baz and Saskia, because I do think they also have some agency. For sure somebody like Saskia would have spotted the other creatures coming and figured out that this is not good news. So I'm expecting, as the cloud of birds lift up again for a brief moment, to see her and Baz staggering forward and looking up at the guard tower, looking up at the battlements of the palisades, already having spent the last minute or so shouting, "Let us in!" And as they see that gate coming open, also turning around and trying to alert the other refugees that there is now a path open to get inside, to get a roof over their head and to get those walls between them and the onslaught. So let's do a face danger to represent all of that. Again with heart, that's a weak hit. I'm gonna pay with stress and endure stress. Okay, that's a strong hit on the endure stress, which means what exactly? We can embrace the darkness. Yeah, okay. We trade momentum for spirit, putting us back down to +3 momentum, +4 spirit, as Kynan sees one of the refugees fall with a bird just stuck in his throat and blood gushing forward, as most of them are now crawling out from under the carts and already halfway through on their way towards the entrance gate. We make another 2 progress. I think let's do another phase danger to represent the guard lining up another shot. It's another strong hit, okay. We're gonna get some momentum out of this, +4. And I actually forgot to mark the progress of the countdown, I think, but we had, I think, only 1 or 2 weak hits. Let's say we had 2 weak hits in there. I can't fully remember. I'm sorry, I kind of absorbed in the action of all of this. So let's say we have a countdown track of 2 and we have a progress track of 8 now, which of course means that we're now going to try to finish this, get everyone inside and shout at Baz, it's like, help me close this gate again. So we're going to try and end the scene challenge. 3 and a 4. So as the first larger animals come thundering towards the open gate, followed and accompanied by these twisted looking villagers in their now tattered attire with their features contorted and their jaws clenched open, just emitting these screeching noises. Baz and Kynan and Saskia close the gate again, and Baz and Saskia heft up the crossbar and put it in place. And I imagine the village is still in chaos with people trying to make it to shelter, with Morgan and some of his men trying to drag anyone who was caught and injured outside, which, looking at that, most of the villagers came out of the houses to have a look at what this horrendous racket was, is probably quite a few to just completely still be in chaos and upheaval. There's just that one guard up in the tower who, I imagine, like, while they were closing the gate and putting the beam in sight with all the refugees filing in, has now come down to confront Kynan for the most part. And as he's about to shout at him, or while he's shouting, explain yourself, the first thud against the outside gate can be felt by Kynan, because he's still leaning against it, and he just gets thrown forward just a little bit as the outside gate shudders, and that massive onrushing bull moose rather, just throws itself against it. And Kynan flips the script on the guard and shouts at him, will these gates hold? And I think I want to use this as a sort of compel move to get the guard to snap back to what his job is and realize that they're still under attack. Threaten or incite, roll plus iron. 4 against a 6 and a 5, the 4 plus 3, so that beats it. That's a strong hit, and that also means that the fellow is now considering this question and just reaches for his horn again and indicates that here there be trouble. And that gives Kynan and Saskia and Baz the opportunity to just, drag or push a few of the refugees along and try and also make it to cover themselves. So let's face danger again, just to reach a roof. It's another strong hit in this regard. That is really on a roll again. And I'm picturing now Kynan, Saskia, Baz, and like a dozen or so refugees pushing into an Ironlander homestead, one of the bigger houses, with a family sort of cowering in the back, tending to some of the wounded, wondering like, who are these people now coming in here? And maybe having, because I'm thinking like, how does the plan work? Because we did decide there was some kind of agency in coordinating this attack, and that probably the humanoids, like the former villagers that are now under the spell of this rabies-like illness, this firstborn creation illness, that they were meant to somehow open the gate and maybe break Asha out. But I mean, if I put myself in the shoes of somebody like Saskia, especially with how I imagine her thinking, this kind of goes both ways. This whole chaos and this attack also is not exactly a bad setup for Kynan and Saskia to fulfill their vow to find Asha and safeguard her. So maybe we have Saskia going, you wouldn't happen to have found our target in all this mess, would you? And Kynan, his face bloodied and bleeding from various other cuts and bruises, frowns for a moment and goes, old storage shaft, across from here, under the longhouse.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Kynan considers this and sees Bas coming up as well, and he sneaks her a glance and says, see if you can find her. I have an old friend to find. He's with the villagers. And Saskia just gives him a very brief, puzzled look, because, you know, where did you dig up an old friend all of a sudden? But she doesn't really question it much, and just impulsively and with a joyful laugh bursts from the house. She just reached to safety, raising up her own shield, and just makes for wherever she thinks Asha is now located, to make sure that they can use this chaos and disorder to their advantage. And I think that's where we're gonna leave it today. So thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you next time, and bye for now.